Well, hi, everybody. Is this okay? Can you hear me okay? I'm Selena Pompiani. It's so nice to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for coming out. So I came to WVU the first time. When was I here? I was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember now, but I've been here a few times. I love coming to the campus because this group is always so excited about journalism and broadcasting and what I love to do. So I thought maybe we could start with my backstory. I'm sure Abigail maybe talked a little bit about it. But we'll go over my history and where I am now. And then I'd love to open it up for questions. If you have any questions at all for me, anything you want to ask, feel free. So we could do a fun Q&A session. But I'm from Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I've lived there my whole life. I went to Point Park University, and I graduated with a BA in broadcasting. My first job, sorry, I'm out of breath. I ran from the bathroom. My first job was working in Steubenville, Ohio, Wheeling, West Virginia. If you guys are familiar with that area, Wheeling's pretty close. I worked at WTOV9, and I was the weekend news anchor, and I reported during the week, so general assignment reporting, which was great. I was a one-man band, so I really got thrown into everything really quickly, so I was able to learn how to shoot, how to edit, how to write, how to perform on camera. It was such a great market. I learned so much, and it really helped me transition to what I was doing at the Penguins. So I started working with the Pens in September of 2014. I've been with them ever since, and they truly have changed my career in many ways, and I'll get into how they did. But I started as the Pens TV host, so I would front all of the pieces online, and I could pull my stuff up like I did last year. This is so nice. Thank you, guys. So I did all of the Pens TV pieces, which is really fun. I would cover the team, community events, behind the scenes stories, so all really fun entertainment type pieces with the players. So I'll show you some of these videos. I have so many on here. Let's see. So my first season with the Penguins, I did pretty much all online stuff, but I knew I wanted to also incorporate being an in-arena host. So then I started, towards the end of that season, I kept going to my boss, and I was like, is there any way, because my whole first year, the 14-15 season, they didn't even have a host anymore. So there was nobody at the games, except, of course, our PA announcers, who are awesome. But I knew that I felt like the in-game experience was missing something, and I knew that I could be good at that. So they let me kind of audition during the playoff run, which was pretty short during that season. We only made it to round 1, but I still got, I think, 3 games of that experience. And I loved it, and I think it worked out really well. So the following season, I started doing games, which is like my favorite thing ever. So I could show you a little bit of my work. We'll do... This one should be... Yeah, I think this is all Penn stuff, not so much KDKA. Let's see. Can we hear that okay? So this is a combination of in-game hosting and also some of my stories for Pens TV.
Wasn't really a true indicator. Pittsburgh winters can be pretty nasty, and we can't forget about the first goal of the game scored by Patrick Hornquist, who was up to bat and swung a beautiful behind-the-net pass in midair.
You could probably tell I'm Italian. Those hands. They have a mind of their own. Oh, this isn't even Penguins. But The Penguins gave me so many opportunities, including when the A10 came to Pittsburgh. They asked if I wanted to be the host for it. So that was my first time doing basketball, but it was awesome.
50th anniversary, we have produced a fabulous documentary focusing on the history of the franchise, and you guys get to see it for free right here at PPG Paints Arena.
Hi everyone, I'm
Okay,
Selena
we don't have to
Pompiani.
watch
This whole thing, it's pretty long, but I have all of my info and videos on my website if you want to check any of them out more in depth later. But anyway, so we started in-game hosting the following season, so the 15-16 season, and I was full-time with them up until last year, so now I'm only part-time, and that's because I started doing morning traffic on KDKA. It's our CBS affiliate in Pittsburgh. So I do morning traffic on our shows from 4:30 to 7, and then we have another hour from 7 to 8 on our CW station. And then we have a show from 9 to 10 called Pittsburgh Today Live, which I love. And that's pretty much, anything happening around Pittsburgh, a lot of community events, entertainment pieces. So I love PTL. We call it PTL. So now that I'm doing that position at KDKA, I cut back at the Penguins, which was really hard, but my favorite part about my job at the Pens is doing the games. So I knew I wanted to continue hosting and being at all of the home games. So my schedule is a little bit easier now, but it's still tough because I get up at 1:30, 2 in the morning, and I do my first shift at KDKA, and then if it's a game day, I'll go home and nap for 2 hours, and then I'll go to the arena by 4, and we'll get done by 10:30. So it's a long day. It's hard to get up the next day, but it's really fun, and I love what I do. So any questions? You guys can ask me anything you want. Yes, Nat.
So, when you did this montage and all these events, were you prepared to go into it, or did you already know, did you know what you were going to be covering in the arena that day, or was it all, spot on?
Some of it was spot on. A lot of it would just be things that popped up last minute, but some things were planned, like a big event, like if the players do the Children's Hospital visit, that'll be planned a couple weeks in advance. So some of it was just, spot on the day of, but most of it, we kind of knew what we were.
Have to use your creative mind, I guess,
Oh yeah, yep. But the Penguins, and that didn't come out right. Are all of you interested more in the on-camera side, or kind of production, or maybe both, or communications as a whole? On camera. I love your outfit, by the way. So stylish. Well, I think a lot of kids, at least I'm on the board at Point Park University, and that's where I went. And I know a lot of the students that I talk to and that I meet with there, they always ask me once that are graduating, what's the best route? And a lot of kids think the only option is to start at a really small news station, which is a great option. I mean, I learned a ton. This is great. I learned so much when I was in Steubenville, but I think if you're really into sports, working for a team is one of the best ways you can go, because not only do you get so much exposure, that's what the Penguins honestly changed everything for me. And that was the best move I ever could have made, was getting out of news for that short bit of time and working for a team, because teams have such a big following. The Penguins have millions of followers, and they're all over the world. So that's where I started to get a following. So, and the Penguins job is how I landed the KDKA job, which was really cool. That just kind of came out of nowhere, but it was because of the Penguins. And so I think if you are going back and forth, what would be the best option for me, I would suggest working for a team too, even if it's a minor league team, anywhere to start, because they treat you like you're a part of the team, like you're a player. Questions? You can ask me anything.
Can we just hear more about, I guess, your favorite experiences, actually, in the game, or maybe something you didn't expect to turn into, a great story with the Penguins or something, really just, a story surrounding that?
Well, I've covered so many great events with the team, but as far as in-arena hosting goes, I think anytime I had the opportunity to interview a former player or, it's like a big name, like when I had Pascal Dupuis and Tyler Kennedy. I think just having that opportunity is so cool, and it's great too for a reel, like to show you guys. But I think that's always I look back on that stuff, and sometimes my in-game director, will have a last-minute ad, like we're going to do an interview in this period, or I can't remember who I interviewed. This was a couple of years ago. It was one of the older guys. I can't remember if it was Jean Pronovo. It was one of the older guys that I interviewed that night on their alumni night. And one of them was last minute, but it was so stressful at the time because looking up information about them or what you wanted to ask. But then once you did it and looking back at it, it's so cool. And I'm honored that I was able to do that. Yeah. Just under 2 years. Yeah, so Yep, I interned at WTOV9 for about 2 weeks, and I was a junior at Point Park, and they ended up just having a position that was open, and they needed somebody to start. And so the GM said, "You want to start working?" And I was like, "Yeah." I thought he meant after graduation, and he meant then. So I started when I was a junior at Point Park. Yeah, I scheduled all of my classes to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I think my day was like 8 in the morning and I wrapped up at like 9 at night. And those were my only 2 days off. So then I was full time and I worked every other day in Steubenville, which was a lot, but I learned so much. It was a good experience. No, the good thing is, so I am from Robinson, and Steubenville from Robinson is not bad at all. It's like 45 minutes, so I just saved money and lived at home. Yep, commuted back and forth. Yep. Yeah, well, I'll tell you how KDKA kind of came about, it's honestly all because of the Penguins. So I interned at KDKA, I think my sophomore year at Point Park, and I always had a really good relationship with the news director and GM. And my dad, of course, has been there for 38 years, so I've always looked up to him, and I always wanted to be like my dad. So I made sure that I kept in contact with everyone at KDKA after my internship was over. And from time to time, I would check in with them and just send them my work at the Penguins, because I always like to get feedback. So I sent it to the GM of KDKA the summer of 2017, and then they called me and they were like, "Do you want to go get lunch?" Which I thought was kind of odd. And so my dad was like, "Well, it'll be a good opportunity. Maybe they're thinking of doing something with the Penguins or some type of collaboration." And so they took me to lunch and they said, "Would you ever be interested in doing traffic?" And I was like, I never thought about it really, but yes. I mean, I love being live. That's my favorite part. That's why I love in-arena hosting. I love going live, and I never have a script in the mornings. I ad-lib everything, which is so much easier for me. So I loved that idea, and I loved the idea of a morning show because I'm very bubbly. Mornings I felt like were perfect for me. So I auditioned, and I ended up getting the job. But the reason why they thought of me for the role was because of the Penguins and because of my following with the Penguins. And they wanted that young audience to watch in the mornings. So the Penguins really created that opportunity for me. So, and a lot of people don't know this part of my story, but it was February, I think like early February, March, the current host was leaving, Katie O'Malley, and they had an opening for just an in-arena host only. So I auditioned, and I didn't get the role, and I was really bummed, but it would have been hard anyway with my schedule in Steubenville. So I kind of put that in the back of my mind, and then in August, they called me again, and they said, "Do you want to come in just to chat?" And they wanted to talk about an upcoming position, and they had an open position, and it was for the online host and also the potential of in-arena hosting, which I picked up the year later. So I didn't end up getting it, though, my first time around, which was a bummer, but glad they called me back.
Did you find that it was easier for you, since you already had a background in live television with the Pens, that it was easier to transition into live TV once you got to KDKA?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And during games, I never have, I mean, I have a script, but I never have a prompter or anything really in front of me. So I know the information, but it's all ad lib, and that's exactly how it was such an easy transition for me. And I used the green screen so much at the Penguins when I did, and I could show you some of my segments like Pens Trends. It's all on the green screen, and that really helped me work the green screen with traffic. And I could show you, this is kind of a combination of my stuff at KDKA, and some Pens Trends is in here too, but the Penguins, and they have such a huge video production department, and everyone is so talented in that department. So I was able to really learn how to edit really well, really fast at the Penguins, how to use the green screen, how to key myself out, which is really complicated, and I'm terrible at graphics, but I did learn how to do it. So they really taught me everything. I can't say enough about what the Penguins have done for me. This is traffic. Obviously.
Now, he has been to every planet in the galaxy, guys, but never to a hockey game. What do you think about your first Penguins experience here tonight? Hey, fans, get your phones out right now. Head to the Penguins app. Make sure to click on Fan Zone, and you can play with us live right now in your seats if you choose the Enterprise Hat Trick Challenge trivia option. It's fun. It's easy. Plus, one lucky fan will even take home a gift card thanks to our friends at Enterprise. So let's head right to our trivia question tonight.
Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome back. Traffic on the Parkway East doesn't really start to pick up until you get past Wilkinsburg. Forest Hills is really where we're seeing those delays to the Squirrel Hole Tunnel. Of course, once you get out of the Squirrel Hole Tunnel, not too bad headed into the city over to the Parkway West. The delays begin right after you get past the top of Green Tree Hill. At the middle of Green Tree Hill, where this live look is right now, you're currently at 8 miles per hour in that location. Keep in mind, tomorrow, if you are headed to the St. Patrick's Day Parade in downtown.
But yeah, the Penguins going live at all of the Pens games, it was such an easy transition. Even when I first auditioned at KDKA, I think I was in there maybe 2 or 3 times as a whole, but even my first time, it was just easy for me to talk and to use the green screen because I was so used to it. So they're pretty similar, even though traffic and sports are very different. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I started out going back. I mean, my dad has been in sports for 38 years, and when my sister and I were younger, we would just watch him, and we always said, I want to be like Daddy. I just want to do what he does because he's always so happy, and we would watch him every night, and you could really tell he loves what he does, and he still loves it. So, but sports was never, and I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I was always a huge Pittsburgh sports fan, but I wasn't as big of a fan as my dad. Like the fact that how he can analyze a game and do play-by-play so easily. That was never something that my sister or myself were into as much. So we both knew we wanted to get into broadcasting, but we thought maybe news would be the best route. So that's what I did in Steubenville, and it was there when I figured out that hard news wasn't exactly my favorite. And that's when the Penguins opportunity came about, and I knew, that would be a lot of fun. And even though I work in sports, I'm more of the entertainment fan side. So, yeah, and it's so much fun, and most teams have that availability and have a position like that, which is really cool. But now I love hockey, and I've grown to really know it well, and I love it, and I'm at every game, which is great. So I get so many opportunities to see such an amazing team, and just the fact, over the last 2 years getting to work for a Stanley Cup championship team has just been an unbelievable experience. But where were we going with this? Oh, yeah, but that position just came about. So it wasn't that I planned on working in the sports environment. It just kind of happened. And traffic, I don't think anyone, I mean, maybe you do, grow up saying, I want to be a traffic anchor. But what I liked about that position was I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I know the area and I know all the roadways. So it was such an easy transition for me. So I didn't have to necessarily learn that much about traffic in Pittsburgh since I've grown up in Pittsburgh and I know pretty much every area. But what I like about doing traffic is, and I could see myself doing traffic for a long time, it's because I could still add a personality to it. It's still fun. You could make it light, unless, of course, there's a really serious accident. But most of the time, you could still be yourself, and I'm very bubbly, so I could still kind of pull my personality into it. Yeah. No, actually. So last year, it did a little bit more. So I was still full-time with the Penguins last season. So I would do, my shift at KDKA was 3:30, and then I would leave right around 9:15, and then I would go straight to the arena, either 9:30 to 5 or 9:30 through 10 if it was a game night. So then I would just go home, go to bed, get up. So that was really all I did last year, honestly. I would go to sleep, work, and eat, and that was pretty much it. So now it's really great, and they really don't conflict at all because as soon as I'm done with Pittsburgh Today Live, which I could typically leave by 11:30, then I could go home, take a nap, do whatever I need to do, and then I could go to the game. So now it's perfect. Thank goodness. I don't know. Yeah, well, I think I drink a lot of coffee. And even today, I don't know what was going on, but the coffee I made this morning was so strong. I mean, I was shaking throughout the morning shows, and I drink so much coffee, it doesn't even affect me, but this morning, I feel like I'm still a little bit shaky from that coffee. But I love coffee, and my parents, honestly, have such good attitudes, and they always are they are so bubbly and happy. Like, if you think you should meet my mom, and I'm sure you guys know my dad or have watched my dad. They both have so much energy, so I think it just comes from them. I hope to still be in Pittsburgh because I love Pittsburgh. I would have a really hard time leaving my family and my friends, but I love that I'm working at KDKA now, and that was always a dream to be with my dad, but I would love to do something with him, and I don't know what that would be, but some type of show, or I don't know. I would love to do something with my dad at KDKA. That would be probably my ending goal. Well, when the team is out of town, I do get a lot of, at least I have all of my nights free, which is great, and most weekends. But someday, like this week is really busy for me. I have events every night, tomorrow, Thursday night, but my dad's birthday is Thursday, so even though he works Friday because it's game 2 in New York, we're going to go to dinner in between, so we'll get like a good hour and a half together. So you just kind of figure it out. But I do have a lot of free time, especially during the off season and when the team's away. I don't know. That's really tough. I love both. I really do. The games are obviously a blast, and I love everything about the Penguins. Everybody that I work with, it's like I think it's the best organization ever in sports. I really do. But I love KDKA, and I love the history of KDKA and the history even with my family there. I don't know. That's really tough. I like both a lot because I get to go live, and I just love being live. And I think I have a total of 28 live hits in the morning for traffic, which is a lot. And then I have probably 2 to 3 when I'm live in the field on Pittsburgh Today Live, but tomorrow I get to co-host, so I'll be live from 9 to 10. So I like both jobs equally, I think, because they're both really similar.
I know for you, like something we're learning about in school a lot right now. I feel like that's really been pushed at us is like crisis communication, especially with like social media and everything. And I don't think anything ever like huge has happened with the pens, but I guess just really any advice with like how we're moving into such a big social media and like world, and it's really online now all the time. I guess just how to handle that when a lot of the time you can't always like control what everyone says. Just if you have any advice on that at all.
Yeah, well, for me personally, I think I'll go into more of an organization and my personal account. So, social media, I love social media. Hopefully, you guys can friend me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We could chat if you have any questions. But I love all social media platforms, and it's so big now, even with like the career of broadcasting and working in this industry, just to have all these platforms and to showcase your work. That's what I try to do every day. I always love to post my stuff, and I get a lot of nasty comments. I mean, a lot. A lot of good ones, but also a lot of bad ones. A lot having to do with they don't like my clothes in the morning, or I'm just there because of my dad. But at the end of the day, and I always respond back, but I'm always really nice. I try to reverse the situation, and then usually they'll be nice back. So kill it with kindness on social media even. I feel like it always is a good way to go. That's what my dad has always taught me. But as far as like a team goes, like the Penguins, I don't think they've ever been in that type of situation. And they have such a huge new media team. And Andy Perlman, who I'm sure you remember if anybody was here last year, she's in charge of the new media team at the Penguins, and she is so phenomenal, and they are so careful with what they put out there. Even I always tell her, like, you never even have a spelling error. I mean, ever. I mean, they are just perfect and so clean, and that's how you need to be, though. So I'm not sure as far as like a team goes as a whole, because they've never really been in that situation, thankfully. Yes, Nat. I think when I was young, when I was at Point Park, I always wanted to work for an entertainment network. So E or Access Hollywood, which would still be cool, but I don't think I could ever live in LA or New York. I honestly, I love Pittsburgh, and I think that is where my dream is now, just to grow at KDKA. No, that's what I used to want to do. I don't know why. No, I think if anything, I would love to work for a morning show, like a Good Morning America type. Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe I would move for that. No, not the Kardashians. Well, it's tough. And I'm thankful, like, my mom is phenomenal, and she has such a good eye, and she's always on the internet browsing for work dresses for me. So she's really my stylist. So I'm very thankful for my mother, Lisa. She's fantastic. So she helps me pick out a lot of my stuff, and she'll always be sending me links, like, what do you think about this? So she's always helping me get new material for work. But some days, like, if I don't plan out what I'm going to wear the night before, which I didn't tomorrow, it's really bad to do in the morning. So I try, like on Sunday, I try and take at least like a half hour to plan out all of my outfits for that week. Yeah. Because at 1:30 in the morning, you don't know what you're doing. Oh, yeah. I think I repeat all the time. I just like to rotate them. Like I've worn this so many times. I wore it this morning. But the last time I wore it before today was probably in January, maybe. So I just like to spread them out. And that's why social media is so great, because I post all the time to my Instagram, and I save my reports from every morning so I could go back and see which date I wore what. Traffic, well, in the morning it is hard to wake up. I mean, once I'm up, I'm good and I'm ready to go, but it's really hard when the alarm goes off at 1:30, 2 in the morning. And then it's also really tough when it's busy, like when it's snowing or if we have a bad rainstorm, or if some days there's just a lot of accidents and they come through in my system so fast. It's really hard to sit there and make graphics for each one before my neck because my hits are so close together. So that gets really stressful. So that's probably the most difficult. That and just making sure that I have so many hits in the morning that I want to make sure they're all clear and correct and I sound okay. And when it's that early in the morning, sometimes it's hard, especially after a late Penguins game. So I think sometimes it's difficult for me, mostly after games, to just have that energy and to be smooth. And then I don't know what the most difficult part would be at the Pens. It's so much fun. I don't know. Probably just making sure I have all my notes down and whoever I'm interviewing, I have all the information about them. But the good thing about the games is my in-game director, Billy, is so fantastic. He always gives us our script for the game well in advance, so I know exactly what I'm going to be reporting on for the game, like at least 3 days in advance. So it's really nice. Yeah. Definitely Sydney. I really like all of them, but I like him the best because, well, I've known him for a long time. That's what I was just going to do. I've known him for a long time, and he is just beyond classy. Like, there is no better role model, I don't think, to be the face of the NHL. That he is just, I have nothing but incredible things to say about him, and he's always so classy toward media, and he's just a great person. I think he's such a good role model. But so he's definitely my favorite, but I like Chris Letang. I like a lot of, I don't know. I mean, all the players that we have on the team right now are all great guys. So I don't know. Or do you mean like as a whole in hockey, who's my favorite, or just with the Pens? No, it would be Crosby. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. But yeah, I first met Sydney, and I always, as soon as he got drafted, I liked him immediately. And KDKA used to have a show called the For Kids' Sake Show, which was such a great way for kids of all of the news anchors and reporters to, every Christmas they would put together an hour-long segment, and they would, like, every year Chelsea and I would choose a different topic or a different person we wanted to interview, which was so cool. So we did that since I was like 2 years old up until maybe 15. So after Crosby, during his first season, I told my dad I wanted to do a piece on him, so I was able to. So this was when we first
Welcome
met.
back to the show, everyone. Hey, Sidney Crosby has caught the NHL by storm. He's 18 years old, a multi-millionaire, and on the fast track to big-time things in the NHL.
Sister.
Here's my sister Selena with the cool facts on Sid the Kid.
I got a chance to sit down with Sidney Crosby and ask him lots of questions.
How long have you been playing hockey? What age did you start?
I think 3 years old. Started to skate, and everyone in Canada pretty much starts pretty young.
Since he's
it's a popular
18 here,
game, so
he sounds the
I
exact
was
same.
about 3
Like,
years
he was
old.
always so
His
mature,
dad was
and
also a
that's what I
hockey player. He
admired
was a
about
goalie
him.
with Montreal. He never made it to the big leagues, but he passed his dreams and his passion for hockey to his young son.
You know, I have to work towards getting here, and I don't think there's ever a certain age that I realize I'm going to play in the NHL. But I knew that if I worked hard, I might have had a better opportunity than other people, and I was going to try to get there. So many kids grew up skating, and I just started out early and fell in love with the game.
And it showed. Look at these pictures of Sid as a kid. He always played against older kids, and he always was better than them because he practiced all the time, even in his basement.
When we moved in, we thought this would be a great idea for a hockey rink. So, ever since then, I've been shooting down here, and They all don't seem to hit the net
He
like
should
that,
bring the
though.
highlights
As you can
back.
see, this dryer's taken a beating over, the last few years, and, luckily my parents don't mind, so.
He also had to move away from home when he was 14. He played in Minnesota and Quebec. He also had to learn a new language.
Et les deux garçons, les frères?
Ils sont intéressants. Je suis Canadien.
Oui. Et moi, est-ce que je suis Canadien?
I picked it up pretty fast and really put an effort to to learn it, and now that those 2 years have gone by, I feel fortunate to have it, and I feel pretty comfortable using it now.
And how do you like living with Mario Lemieux?
It's been great for me. He's played 20 years in the NHL, and he's a guy that I can learn from. He's been through a lot of the similar situations that I've been through, so I think it's good just to have him, kind of show me along, and I've learned a lot from him so far.
Like Mario, Sidney has a flair for the dramatic. Early this year, with his dad in the stands and the Canadians on the ice, Sid stole the show in a game that was tied after overtime. He played a shootout and Crosby was king. Sid also told me he likes Chinese food, just like me. He likes country music, mostly Tim McGraw. He also says the Steelers have become his favorite football team. Hanging out with Sid, this is Selena Pompiani for KidSafe.
So Selena got to hang out with Sidney Crosby, and I'm here hanging out with you. That just doesn't seem fair.
I was 13. But you could probably tell I had a really bad problem with my speech. I couldn't say R's at all or S's. I still have a problem with S's, like a double S. I have to really focus. So I took many years of speech classes when I was younger. But yeah, so I've known him for a long time. So he's always been my favorite. Mm-hmm.
I guess just for the last question, really quick, any advice you have to people who are trying to break into the sports world,
Mm-hmm.
the media world, or really any world that you're in?
Yeah, well, I think no matter where you go to school, it's about the effort you put into it. So even during my freshman year at Point Park, I would be taking camera equipment out and I would go around the city and do stand-ups. And I had a reel my freshman year that was, looking back, it was pretty terrible. But at the time, I was like, this is a good steps, my first reel. So I kept doing that, and I kept, my dad would bring the 11 o'clock news home of news scripts, and I would just sit there and I would read it with him, and he would say, just focus on people that you really like. So I would turn on a newscaster that I really admired, and I would try and take some of their style and incorporate it to mine. So I would be reading a lot every day. Really just, and if you want to get more behind the scenes or more in the PR side or marketing, I would just make as many contacts as you can as well. Like internships are huge, and they really benefited me. But and you definitely need to have the skill set, but it's also who you know. Especially in this field, it's all about contact. So I think the more that you can get your name out there and network with people, that's huge. I always say too, it's who you know that gets you there, but what you know that keeps you there. You're not going to stay there if you can't do the job, but sometimes it's really about that connection. That helps. If you have any questions at all, I'll stick around for a while.